one. And yes, here we are. We are live here today with ODE. And where am I? Over here. There you go. Online Digital Education Mastery Group, Facebook community of teachers that collaborate with teachers so that they can help each other succeed, and we share information. And today is episode 90. It's Wednesday, February 10th, and we're speaking with Alayna Zenger on the subject, Mastering Your Homeschooling, which is a great subject because we're talking about teacherpreneurs here. So Alayna Zenger is a determined entrepreneur, a homeschool guru, a passionate ballroom dancer, and I saw that video, that was pretty cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, and a lover of life, and that's self-confessed. From a very young age, she was set on being her own boss, which has led her down the path of entrepreneurship. Alayna is currently creating her own business that is about helping new parents create a better, more empowering education for their children. And that's really, really special. Alayna, oh, you're most welcome. And Alayna was also homeschooled for all her life while growing up, and has vast experience helping families transition from public schools to the homeschool arena. Now, she passionately believes in the power that homeschool has on education. So everybody, please welcome Alayna. Alayna, welcome to the show. And really, I'm happy to have you here. And please let everybody know, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here, and that intro was great.
Oh, thank you. And I meant every word of it. So, we've been going through this pandemic all of a sudden, right? Like last year was zombie pandemic 1.0. Now we're in zombie pandemic 2.0. And one of the most amazing things that has happened during this lockdown is that the rise of the entrepreneur has happened. So you got mompreneurs, solopreneurs, cyclepreneurs, which I interviewed, and now we have teacherpreneurs. I do the teacherpreneur stuff. You're a teacherpreneur, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
And then of course you got all this amazing experience, because you were homeschooled. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you, by going through this experience yourself, and you have learned that there, many parents are looking to learn how to homeschool, in an effective manner. How did your parents, find their own homeschooling rhythm to provide you an exceptional education experience?
Yeah, so I think something that's really daunting about homeschool, or when parents start homeschooling, is they're like, I need to make the decision if I want to homeschool my kids for the rest of their school career. Like, I gotta decide if I'm gonna homeschool them for the next 12 years of their life or anything like that. And so it becomes this really daunting decision. And they're like, there's so many curriculums and there's so many options, and like, how do I know if I'm doing enough? Am I a good teacher? Like, I've never taught anything before. I don't have a teaching degree. Yeah, I love that. And so they often get very, very overwhelmed that it stops them from making the decision to homeschool. And something my parents did very well is my mom, when she decided to homeschool my family. So I have 5 other siblings, so there's a lot of us. And she decided just to jump in. She didn't know anything about homeschool. She just felt very strongly that when she was going to go and put my older sister in public school, she felt that she needed to do something else. And she explains the story like this. She was walking into the public school. She was about to sign my older sister up, and she just was like, I can't do this. I can't put her into public school. I don't know why. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I got to just do something else. And so she started looking at her options. She started to figure out, okay, well, what could I do? And she came across homeschool, and she's like, I have no idea, but I'm going to just start, and I'm going to just see how it goes. And so something they've done with me and my 5 other siblings throughout the course of our homeschooling is that when she decided to homeschool, it was never her intention to continue to homeschool until I graduated as a homeschooler from high school. That was not her intention when she started. She just took it year by year. And every year she would reevaluate what she did. And she would ask herself the question, what do my kids need? What do they need? And how can I provide that for them? And that was a big deal. And the answer for her was always homeschool. So it kind of helps relieve the pressure on parents a little bit, in that you don't have to have your kid's future decided out. And you don't have to have a teaching degree, because honestly, as a parent, you already are teaching your kids. You're already teaching them, and you're already helping them. And so you are more than qualified. And just take it year by year, day by day, right? What do my kids need today? How can I show up for them, and how can I provide them with what they need? And so that was a big part of them getting in the rhythm of homeschooling. Another thing was, she was very, very consistent with our schooling. She made sure to show up every day and teach us something. So even if we were having a rough day, or there were lots of tears, because there were days when, we definitely cried as kids. Sometimes it's hard being a kid, and it's hard doing all the stuff. And so, but she consistently showed up, and she consistently taught us, even if she didn't feel like doing it, or even if we were having a rough day. And even if she only got in 15 minutes of math or 15 minutes of reading, right? At least she was doing it. And I think that's really important for new homeschool parents, or just homeschool parents in general, or just life in general. You got to show up. You got to be consistent with it. And that really helps parents who don't feel like they're enough, right? If you show up every single day, it's going to be enough for your kids.
Wow. You touched upon a lot of interesting points, and the one that still resonates in my mind is about the stresses that a parent can go through to homeschool their own kids. And you said that you do not have to be an educator to homeschool your children.
Yeah.
So that stress on a parent must be huge, because now they got to put together some kind of educational package, for lack of a better word, and on a daily basis, because they're your kids. They're thinking, I'm on vacation every day now. I'm home, so it don't matter. So the same stresses for teaching in a public school, they have to spill over into the homeschool environment one way or the other. And parents do place pressure on themselves, obviously, which can affect how one learns at home. So what's your advice to moms looking to reduce that stress in a homeschool environment?
Yeah. So when I first started helping families with homeschool and transferring from public school to homeschool, I remember the first person I helped was this 12-year-old girl, and her parents had told me, they knew me, and they were like, hey, I know that you're a homeschooler. Like, would you be willing to take on her math education full time? I love all your little stuffed animals. They're so great. You little stuffed people. But what they asked me if I would tutor her in math full time, like if I would become her teacher for math, if they were to pull her out of the public school. And I was only, I think, 16 at the time. And so I was very young, and I was like, why are you asking me? Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I have to take this child's education, like their math education, into my hands, and it's fully my responsibility. And so there was a lot of doubt, right? There was a lot of doubt, a lot of uncertainty. Luckily, I said yes, because that has helped me get to where I am today. But that I understand that pressure that happens from taking on your kids' education. And one thing that I would suggest for reducing the stresses of your homeschooling is to just simplify, right? Don't try and buy a million curriculums and plan a million things for your kids to do. And when you do plan out your day, don't be like, okay, we're going to do this and this and this and this and this and all these things, right? Simplify, right? Try and only plan for 3 to 4 things every single day for your kids to do and for yourself to do. Okay. Because that is going to make it so then you could actually take action towards those things. Because I don't know if anybody's experienced this. I have experienced this so many times where I'll make my schedule the night before and I'll be like, okay, I'm going to get this done and that done and that done. And then the day happens and I look back on all the things that I did and I got nothing done. It's because I overscheduled myself. And so I got too overwhelmed to actually take any sort of action. And the schedule looked too daunting to me. So I was like, I can't do it. And so then I didn't do it. And I see a lot of homeschool parents that do this. They expect to do science and history and emotional intelligence and reading and writing and all these things, right? And they don't end up doing any of it. And so then they feel stressed and they feel unaccomplished and they don't feel productive. And so my biggest suggestion for that is to make sure that you're only planning 3, maybe 4 major things that you're doing every single day. And that's going to help you feel more productive because you're going to be able to take on those things and do them and actually get them done. And it's going to be very, very helpful and it's going to consistently move you towards your goals. And so that is one of my major things for making sure that you're not so stressed when it comes to homeschooling.
Well, and there's a lot more. I feel that stress. You mentioned the word doubt, and doubt creates stress, right? And when we have that stress, like you said, all these lesson plans that we're going through, and then sometimes we don't even accomplish that. But that's because we're thinking the traditional brick and mortar education system. You go to school and you got one session you're doing math, one session you're doing English, another one you're doing social studies, and then the other one you got PE, physical education, and then you go to lunch, and then from there you go to science, and then, oh my God, history. And it's like, I got to teach my kids all this stuff all day long. I don't know half of this stuff. So yeah, that doubt, and I feel stressed about that. And I tell you what, I'm happy that I work online because I don't do lesson plans. I don't do none of that stress. The educational company that I work for, they're really cool people. I got to tell you, and this is one of the reasons why I feel a lot better as an online educator than a brick and mortar educator, because I don't have to plan anything. They provide the whole curriculum. I show up. What the students get is, if anything, real life experience education from a Native American, ESL English teacher. They get to experience a lesson plan that it's diverse in the ways that I teach it. Okay, it is a lesson plan. I didn't create it, but I'm the one who executes their lesson plan. And at the end of the day, those students are like, yeah, I pronounced that correctly. Yeah, I understood it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm the one who taught it. So as a parent feeling all this stress, the homeschool mindset, without a doubt should be a growth mindset aimed at keeping the learning cycle moving forward. However, at times parents tend to, like you said, overthink, right? And when things don't happen the way they envisioned it, what are some of the homeschool parents' biggest obstacles then? And what best practices do you advise them to overcome it?
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest obstacles is parents that are homeschooling try to make homeschooling like public school. And it's not. And yeah, it's good. There's a saying my mom said to me a little while, maybe it was a couple years ago. And she said, homeschooling is not public school in the home. And that's always stuck with me and is something that I think is very, very important because when new homeschool parents are starting, they think that they need to make their home like a public school. And so they think, okay, do I need to buy a desk? Like, do I need to have all these assignments? Do I need to assign them homework? Like, when am I the teacher? When am I the mom? When am I the dad? That kind of thing. And they try and separate those things. And if you're going to get into homeschooling, it's very, very important for you to understand that you have to embrace the untraditional with your homeschooling. And you have to be willing to embrace how your kids learn, no matter how weird it is. And there are a lot, like, these kids learn weird sometimes. I'll use me as an example. The best way that I like to learn is I hate sitting at a chair because I like to move a lot. I'm a very kinesthetic learner. And so what I found is that how I learn best is I get one of those big exercise balls and I sit on it and bounce on it right in front of my computer. And that, yeah, that really helps me focus, and that helps me stay focused and actually retain the information better. And I have seen this through a lot of the families that I've helped and the kids that I've helped. There was one girl that she wanted to do her math, her like multiplication table. She wanted to sit upside down in the chair.
Wow.
Yeah, very weird, very strange.
Okay, now I understand weird. I mean, I was waiting for weird, but that's kind of
very
odd.
weird, yes. And she was young. She was like 10 years old, maybe. And
She's
her
a genius.
her mom came to me and was like, she keeps fighting me on this. She wants to do this. And I was like, just let her do it.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Just
let her do it and enjoy it and teach her anyway. And she's probably going to learn better. And I found this with my siblings too. Like my younger brother, he has this giant yo-yo, and he loves to play with his yo-yo while he's doing his multiplication tables or while he's doing things that don't require his hands. And I think it's a great way to embrace the creativeness and that natural need for movement that we have as humans. And I heard this story once about a college class, and the teacher required everyone in the college class to play with toys while they were learning. And it's really, it's a little off-putting at first because you're like, well, they're college students. They should be able to pay attention. And it's not that. It's
really isn't.
The creativeness that playing with toys opens up when you're learning. And like, that's a normal thing for kindergarten kids to do or first grader kids to do. But slowly as they get older, the school system expects kids to become these little robots that sit in their chair, that say nothing, that have no expression, that only ask questions when they are asked to give them an answer, have to raise their hand to go to the bathroom, not supposed to move, and are supposed to sit and stare at a lecture the whole time. And really, it's not that, right? It's supposed to be fun and creative and embracing the weirdness and the untraditionalness of learning, because we all learn differently and we all learn in weird ways, and sitting still and trying to focus on something is a very difficult way to learn things. Yeah. And so for me, my suggestion to parents is be comfortable embracing the untraditional and just love it. And you don't need to separate yourself. You don't have to be the teacher when you're homeschooling your kids and working on math or science or anything, and then be the mom after you're done with that. You don't have to do that, because literally there are learning opportunities everywhere. Yes, and the learning in the homeschool environment extends way past the academic subjects. And it extends into the exploring, the emotional side of things, the creativeness, so many more life things that are important for life itself, that are moved beyond just the academic stuff. And so as a parent, you're always teaching them, and you always have the opportunity to teach them and to show them things and to encourage their curiosity. And so honestly, that would be the biggest thing, is just homeschool is not public school in the home, and don't try and make it that way. Just be comfortable with there being a little bit of weirdness and chaos.
Yeah. You know, I'm taking it all in, and as you're talking, my mind is swinging, like a little kid, because I work with kids specifically, and these Chinese kids that I work with, they're at home right now when I teach them, and they get English education in a school system. So the huge difference in their learning curve with me and their traditional school is that in their traditional school, they got to focus.
Yeah.
And the discipline is like you can't even crack a smile. And that's amazing to me because, I strongly believe that we rob kids, or the education system robs children of their dreams, of their creativity by having the stern, mentality and education. And when I deal with them, I throw out my puka and my bear.
I love that.
And I do all the silly stuff. And it's so hard for them to crack a smile. And I get kids who tell me, for example, teacher, I got a 98 in class, in math class yesterday. And I'm like, whoa, that's awesome. But they'll say, yeah, but my mom beat me up because, I should have gotten 100. I'm like, what the hell is that? So, what you're talking about as far as obstacles, being a teacherpreneur, right? We're thinking like pathfinders in the 21st century, if anything, because that's where we are. You're definitely the future because you're 30 years younger than me, and that's great. But, we're both in the same boat in terms of the obstacle should not be something that hinders your growth, educational growth. It should be something that we address like, oh, so you want to learn upside down? Fine, let's go ahead.
Do it. Yeah.
Let's try it out. Why not? I mean, what do you mean science in class? Let's go outside and explore, like you said. Let's go look at the weather. Let's go touch electricity.
Yeah.
I think that there is no such thing as an obstacle in terms of education. We create that, and that's where we hinder that growth. So to hear that even kids in the university are playing with a Rubik's Cube so that they can have a clearer, thought, give it to them.
I know.
I don't see the problem with that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's for anybody that age, like anybody just in general, adults too. And there's just such this stereotype that we have to be able to just sit down and learn. And I think that it's important to practice that at times. Yes, that's needed at times to be able to sit down and focus. But math and things that are hard like that, a lot of kids that I work with have a hard time with math, and I had a hard time with math too. It's something that, it's something that is not always enjoyable. And it's hard to see the value in it, especially if you're not going to go and be a mathematician or anything that has to do with math. And so lately I've been thinking about, well, how do I get kids to value math, right? And how do I get them to engage with that? Because we just expect them to be self-disciplined about every single subject, but it's very, very hard for any person to be engaged about something that they're not interested in or don't see any kind of value that it can bring their life. Yeah. And since that is hard to see in math, why would we try and make math even harder by making them sit still to learn math? Let's make it fun as possible for you to learn math, even though math may not always be the most exciting and crazy fun thing that you've done, right? And so it's about that, taking the hard subjects that are not always fun to do and embracing them by making them fun through how you teach them.
Exactly. What's my puka? Make it fun. Make it fun, okay? They don't need to be subjected to some, educational abuse.
Yeah, and I think back to all the times where I've been to, when I've gone as an adult now, where I've gone to seminars and things like that. And I think about the ones that are most memorable to me. And it's always the ones that were fun, that got me moving, that did things that were out of the ordinary or things that were a little weird or why are we doing this? I can barely remember the ones where I had to sit in this big lecture hall and take notes on a notebook, right? But I think about if we look at Tony Robbins seminar or Russell Brunson seminar where literally they're jumping up and down. Or I remember I have really fond memories of shows that I've seen where they got us moving and they got us doing it. Those are always the most memorable. The ones where I have to sit and just take notes, I have a very hard time staying awake, even though I consider myself a disciplined person and somebody that, who can pay attention. It's still hard for me. And so it makes a big difference.
It makes a huge difference. It's the difference between whether you're going to be somebody who, again, has that growth-minded learner mindset, who's not afraid to fail, just because you got a 98, that's not failure. Heck, if you got a D, that's not failure. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, you could do better. Please do better. But,
yes. Yeah.
Don't get chastised for that and beaten down, because now to recover from that, again, it becomes regressive, not progressive. And that sucks for the kid, and really, I think teachers, you got to get on board with this 21st century stuff, okay? That purist mentality, okay, with the ruler, and, that doesn't work, and it hasn't worked for 100 years or more.
Yeah, and I think they will start to see that the academic side of things will get better once this is embraced, once the untraditional of just learning in general, right? The academics are going to go up too, because yes, I agree that academics are important to some sense, but the academics will go up when you start to embrace and the untraditionalness of just learning in general.
I agree. So your homeschooling revolved around a particular curriculum, which no doubt prepared you for any top-notch university. What educational method and homeschool curriculum is advisable to use, and how did you choose these for your clients?
Yeah, so this is it's a hard one to answer for the general, because every family's different, and it's going to take some time for you to find something that works. And even when you do, you may want to adjust it a little bit as the kids themselves get older. Like my mom found something that worked for me when I was young, like 10, 11, but then she had to adjust and change when I got older.
Sure.
And so be willing to have it adjust to whatever you're going to do. And be willing to try things and take the leap on things and actually use them. And then if they don't work, that's fine, right? You can adjust and you can move. So many parents are worried about, well, which one is the right curriculum? I don't know if I'm making the right decision. You don't have to be stuck up on that, because
again, with the stresses.
Yeah. Right. If you just show up consistently and you figure out, okay, well, this is what worked about the curriculum that I tried, and this is what didn't work about the curriculum that I tried, then, okay, let me find a better one, or let me find one that works better for my family. And so when it comes to curriculum, you have to be willing to adjust. But the main thing that I would suggest when it comes to just teaching them academically in homeschooling is, I think there's 3 subjects that are very important to do every single day, right? It's math, it's reading, and it's writing. And now, obviously, this is going to depend on the age. If they're younger, you spend less time on math, less time on reading, less time on writing. But I do believe that you should be spending an hour on math every single day. No matter what age you are, like, no matter if you're past like the age of 10 or 11. Yeah. And so you should be doing some math, right? If you're a homeschool parent, right? As far as adults, math gets less important.
I do.
Yeah, I mean, there is important stuff to learn, but there is some things in math that, we're not going to use unless you're
carpenter,
things like that. Yeah, carpenter. Yes. Yeah. So parents who are looking about planning out their curriculum, I think it's important to do an hour on math when you plan that schedule. The math curriculums that I love to use is I have loved Khan Academy, or I love CK12. And both of those are free, and they have curriculums for very, very first grade all the way up till 12th grade. And so those are very nice. I like those ones. Some parents don't like them because they're online, but really that's just a preference.
It's the 21st century.
I know. And that's the hard part that I have. Like, you don't want your kid to be online at all. Like, there's a lot of resources online that are free that you don't have to pay for.
I know.
Yeah. So math is big, and so that's what I would suggest for math. For writing, write about things that they're interested in. So many parents are try to force their kids to write about things that are just not interesting, on top of trying to get their kid to write. Right? Writing is very hard for a lot of kids, especially when they're learning it and trying to just figure it out. And so if you can encourage them to write about things that they're interested in, then it's going to help them be more motivated to write. Yeah. And so a great example is like getting them a gratitude journal, and having them write in that every morning, or sitting down and having them write about a movie that they watched over the weekend, or a book that they're reading, or their favorite characters, or something that they're interested in, right? That's going to get them a lot more interested in actually writing itself. And so then you can start to teach them, okay, well, this is what a noun is, this is what a verb is, and all these different things. And you can start to add those little things in there while they're being interested in writing. And then the last thing is reading. I think that it's important to read every single day with your kids. And I think that there's 3 types of reading that needs to be done every day. Your kid needs to be reading by themselves every day. And this is usually things that are easier for them, so then they don't need your help. So easier level books that they don't quite need your help on figuring out the words. And for like little kids, it's going to be just like picture books, right? Something very, very simple. And then there's reading that they need to be doing with you. And this is going to be like their kind of level reading. So where they are struggling through it, right? But they can sound out a couple words here and there, but like you read a page, they read a page, you read a page, they read a page, and go back and forth. And then the last thing, which I think is so important that a lot of parents don't do, is you as the parent need to be reading to your child.
Yes.
Reading books that are harder, that they couldn't read themselves, but that explore new worlds and different ideas and open up their minds. It's going to help them with comprehension. It gives you things to help them write about, and it's going to help them just figure out new perspectives and new thoughts on life. And it's something that you can connect with with your child. You can connect about the book and you can talk about it. And so that's something that my mom always did, even when we were in high school. Like I remember being a senior in high school and she was reading to me and I loved it. And it just helps kids understand why reading is important. And it helps them get interested about reading. So that would be my suggestion when it comes to setting up the math and the writing and the reading. As far as curriculum, just be willing to adjust.
I like those 3 things or 4 things that you said, because it just coincides with that growth mindset, that learner mindset, method. It should be. It allows a kid to actually develop into his own self. Instead of learning to be fearful, instead of learning to be shy or whatever, to really discover who they are and could be and will be, based on that positive, mindset, because it's quite amazing to see a child who's just lazy-minded simply because they weren't given that opportunity to do it their way, the way they saw it or the way they thought they would like to do it. Like you said, let them write about what they like, and then show them what a noun, a verb, a present simple, past participle. Look, I get it. All right. There's rules in grammar. There's rules in speaking. Man, English got too many rules.
I know.
and that's fine. But at the end of the day, it's not like when we become adults, we start to be cognizant of these rules. Like, I need to speak this way. No. You need to speak like you, as long as you understand. And this is what I tell my kids. 3 things. If you learn how to listen, if you learn how to understand what you heard, and then you can process that in speech properly, you're golden. Okay?
Yes.
Really, you're just good. So don't allow that critique, to make you feel humiliated or make you feel dumb or slow or whatever, because that's the stigma that happens with kids. And educators, as much good as we want to do, again, we don't, because we restrict that growth in kids, their own creativity to just go out there. Just let me help you go get it up. I'm going to guide you. Teachers want to teach more than they want to educate. This is something that I heard and I've learned, and I think that's true. You don't need to teach a kid, you need to educate a kid, and
I love that.
This is why we're educators. Yeah, we know how to teach, but there's a time where you don't have to be doing all that kind of teaching.
A lot of your teaching is going to be through example.
Exactly. So educate. Don't stop teaching so much. Okay. There's a lot of hardcore teachers out there.
They're getting upset by what we're saying.
Really? Wait a second. I got something for them. Where's mine? Here it is. Here you go, teacher.
Oh, I love that. All your little trinkets.
Yeah, I got a baseball bat too, in case they want to get rough. I'm from New York. So, entrepreneurs, okay, because we're teacherpreneurs, we got everybody as a preneur now, It's the pandemic, so people are locked down and they're thinking of ways of monetizing their lives. But entrepreneurs in general, which is the let's say the root word of all the preneurs, okay, are focused on positive growth outcomes. And I think everybody should. If you want to have any kind of success, you want to at least focus on outcomes as well, positive outcomes. And certainly your program is focused on outcomes as well. Can you tell us what is the overall outcome for your homeschool program?
Yeah, so the goal of so I have a course that I created, and it's called Mastering Your Homeschooling. And the goal of it is, and you guys can find it at just alaynazenger.com, or you can come and join me in my Facebook group, which is called Mastering Your Homeschooling and Helping Your Kids Love Learning. I would love to have you there. Yes, and you can message me straight on Facebook if you'd like to. But the goal of it is to really help your kids love learning, and to help them find that learning again, and to help you as a parent guide them to be themselves. I think as a parent, it's not your job to try and make them be you, because they're not you. And so you need to guide them to be themselves and to be confident enough to embrace that and accept all of that. And there's a lot of things that are being taught in the public schools, like don't accept who you are, just love yourself for whatever. Like, they don't teach you how to love yourself. They don't teach you that you should embrace your emotions. And I mean all of the emotions, even the ones that sometimes people say are bad, like sadness, but sadness is very crucial to being a human. Yeah. And so the goal of my course was to help parents take that homeschooling education that they're creating and take it to the next level. So instead of just being so consumed by the curriculum or consumed by academics, they can still work with the academics and bring that into their homeschooling, but also create something more for their homeschooling education than just a traditional public school education. And so that's the goal of my course.
And basically, your program, achieves a high value, education just the same. A lot of people think, and maybe parents think this. I don't know, because I don't speak to other than Chinese parents. They expect excellence all the time.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But let's say USA parents, they might not be privy to the thought of, is this really a good education if I do it at home? Yeah, of course it is. And you know what? Don't doubt yourself about that. Education, it has his progression as well. It's not the same way my grandmother used to teach, 100 years ago. And, you don't need to use the ruler anymore. Nowadays, okay, the back system or method, yeah, sure. Again, that's traditional. But in this era, man, you could really go all out and do amazing stuff to learn and still, acquire that good education at home that'll get you to a university level, and why not? You're already at home,
Yeah.
You just might learn something too as a parent, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And you might like it. I mean, a lot of parents forgot what it was like to enjoy learning.
Yes.
Whether
Yes.
it's reading a book, whether it's like, you know, they might have thought back and be like, oh my God, I remember when I used to do fractions. Well, get back to it. You know? I mean,
Yes.
it's okay to homeschool if that's one option that's available to you. There's two.
Yeah.
Traditional, well, no, you know, you got public school, private school, religious schools, charter schools. Man, you got so many schools. Why not homeschool?
Right.
We're
Yeah.
already in the 21st century, you know?
For sure. Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, another thing that I would say that homeschool, I mean, I know that homeschool is not for everybody, and I completely respect that and completely understand that. And so, but one thing that homeschool does bring also to your life is that it allows you to build a relationship with your kids, a deeper one. Because if you're sending your kid away to school for 6 hours a day and then they want to go and play with friends or they want to go and do their sport, they're getting back really late and then they're tired and they want to go to sleep. And so you have barely any time to connect with them. And you all know this as parents, is that your kids are going to leave one day. They're going to grow up and they're going to go and be their own human. And so you have only this little bit amount of time. And so why not embrace that fully? Why not really enjoy that and just enjoy being with your kids? And that's something that my mom said that she loved the most, is she loved that she was able to be with her kids and create relationships with her kids. And the difference that it's made in the relationships between my siblings and I is huge, in that we have a very untraditional way of family, in that I'm very, very close with my siblings because we grew and learned together that way. And so there's also just a treasure of being able to create relationships and really enjoy the very, very small amount of time that you have with your kids.
I like that you said that, really, because it was a couple of weeks ago where I read a report on, you know, what is the future of the labor force globally now. And, you know, traditionally we work and then we have life. But because of this pandemic rise, and then looking again towards the next 20, 30, 80 years of this century, okay, that has shifted. It's now life work. And the reason why it's life is because it's the digital era, like we're in the Jetson era. So the more digital we become progressively, that means that we're going to have more time for family and less time for work. But just because we have less work doesn't mean we're going to be making less money either. We work on the internet, people. Get wise to that. That means that you got a global population that wants your business.
There's so many
services.
opportunities.
Exactly. The opportunities are amazing. And they're so vast that, you know, people are becoming narrow-minded. It's like, yeah, but it's just Facebook, you know, and it's like, no. Even if you just say that, Facebook has right now, and I read this, 30% of the world population as subscribers.
Wow.
Man, as a teacherpreneur, you and I, if you can't generate 100 students on a niche, you know, educational program and make six figures, it's because your mindset is not right. But the whole point is that it's about life right now, your life, your family life. And as you work from home, making more money, you get to do your home cooked meals, hang out with the kids, you know, just do some really cool stuff and have that deeper bonding with the family that is much needed, not only for your mind, but for your heart.
Yeah.
You don't get that as a parent now when you got to go out of home for 8 hours, 10 hours a day, and the kids are in school 8, 10 hours a day, and you're missing that family time because at night the kids are tired, the parents are tired, and somebody else is taking care of your kids. It's not you.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you start to worry that your kids are acting rebellious, well, pay attention. Yeah, you're in the 21st century. Look, life has already shifted for everybody. So get wise to that. This is public information. I'm not making this up. I know you're not either, you know, but I am so happy to know that what you're doing is helping parents, you know, and giving them an option. to homeschool, where maybe they were thinking that wasn't even an option. And now
Yeah.
whoever's watching is going to talk to somebody and say, you know what? This is what I heard today. And if you want to get in touch with Alayna, okay, ask Alayna for her homeschooling program right here on Facebook.
Yeah.
Alayna Zenger, okay? Mastering your homeschooling with Alayna Zenger.
Yep.
Okay, I have a huge pronunciation thing, and I'm pronouncing it with emphasis. Zenger, okay?
Yeah.
So go get your Zenger homeschooling with Alayna, and give yourself a break. Give your kids a break because they do deserve it. So Alayna, is there anything else you want to tell your audience?
I mean, if you want to, if you're just even thinking about it, just explore the idea and be okay that if it is the right option for you, to just jump in with full confidence and knowing that it's going to be okay and that you'll figure it out.
All right, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you. I really love your mission. I love what you're doing. You're a young teacherpreneur, and this is just the beginning for you. You're creating what I hope is a mass movement in the U.S. alone. I'm going to join you I'm right behind you. I'm tackling the educational, the actual educator, the teacher that wants to teach instead of become a 21st century pathfinder. But just the same, we are trying to help and empower and motivate and inspire, just the same, because that's what we do, that's what we learn to do, and that's what we're going to continue to do. So I want to thank you so much for your time. I think you're a magnificent young lady.
Thank you.
And I really hope that we can not just do this again, but do it at least 2 more times this year. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely. So everybody, thank you. If you got any questions, drop the comments right here, or visit Alayna on her Facebook, page. Visit me right here on Online Digital Education. Okay, Mastering Facebook Community. Say hello to Puka. Okay. I want to thank you all. Thank you. You guys have a great day. God bless.
Thank you.
You're welcome. See you soon.